we have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
Hey, yo, what? He's a struggler. He's a literal struggler. Look at him. He's even got the Berserk cape.
Now, over the past 4 years of Classic, we've watched you master the vanilla experience, and we've loved it. So much, in fact, that we thought we'd add some unique flavor with a seasonal note and a dash of discovery. Season of Discovery is vanilla wow with a spicy twist.
Did everyone just scream no?
You're going to discover new secrets as you scour the world and find class-altering abilities. Have you ever wondered what it might be like to be a tanking warlock?
Okay.
Or take on the role of a mage healer? In Season of Discovery, you can.
That actually sounds pretty interesting.
The season is going to launch with an initial level cap of 25. And when you hit that max level, you'll be met with the brand new level 25 endgame. You'll discover a brand new 10-player Black Fathom Deeps raid with new and reimagined bosses, mechanics, and of course, rewards. Then, after a couple of months, we'll raise the level cap a bit. You'll find even more endgame content, and so it will go. If you're here at BlizzCon, you can play the Black Fathom Deeps raid in the Warcraft Hall.
This is like poking their finger into Classic Plus.
So, if you love Classic or just a little intrigued about what exactly a Warlock tank can do, go check it out. For all of you watching online, don't worry. You won't have to wait long to play. Because we want you to discover all of the secrets.
Something will break the game balance? Who cares? No one cares.
Testing.
Screw game balance. Make it fun.
WoW Classic
No one cares.
Season of Discovery launches in a few short
As long as it's not...
on November 30th.
That? What? Wait, what? It's coming out this month?
For more
but yeah.
information on the Season of Discovery and Cataclysm, don't miss the Classic panel this
Balance
afternoon.
doesn't matter. This is an experiment.
All
This is
right.
supposed to be a
Now
wacky,
it's
goofy
time
season.
to
I literally
find
don't care about
Dragon
balance.
Riders.
As long as it's not completely broken, it's fine. Okay, honestly...
Our team remains committed to giving you meaningful game updates about every 8 weeks with more content sprinkled in between.
I'm sad that it wasn't
We really want
Classic
Azeroth
Plus.
to feel alive and the home you want to come back to.
But it
no
also
matter
seems like
how
a-
you play. Our next major update, Guardians of the Dream, is going live in just 5 days. I want to give a shout out to my elves. It is finally our time.
Except druids that didn't even get the weapon. I got the weapon.
1 week later, Season 3 will start with the last raid of the expansion, Amirdrasil, the Dream's Hope. There we will have our final showdown with Farak and defend our new world tree. But fear not, that's not the end of our time in the Dragon Isles. There's a lot more to come in Dragonflight that will serve as both the epilogue of this story and the bridge to our next one. Like I said earlier, we are evolving. We are changing our approach to this big, beautiful game and how we look ahead to new chapters. BlizzCon, it's time for a new adventure, one that has grown from the very seeds of what captured our hearts when we first set foot in Azeroth. For veteran players, the last 20 years have led us to this. And for those who have yet to join us, now is the time. And who better to talk about the first step
Metzen?
of this journey?
Stop. Stop pausing.
Than someone who carved the path in the first place.
Bring him
Everyone,
on.
please welcome my friend and the executive creative director of the Warcraft universe, Chris Metzen.
There he is. Expansion's over already. Dragonflight, yeah, it's exactly what everyone expected. This is the last raid. The expansion's basically over. There's going to be more story content probably, and there's going to be like a midway patch, but it's basically it. Yeah. Okay. Do the thing. Do the thing. I'm gonna open up my big card.
What up, BlizzCon?
There it is.
Holy smokes! Horde, where you at? Alliance!
There it is. We got it.
BlizzCon as one!
He's such a good hype man.
Holy smokes, thank you. Thank you. It is, thank you guys. It has been a long, strange trip to get back to this spot, I tell you that. It has been interesting this past year, being back under the hood of World of Warcraft. It has reminded me of a few things. One, I love Warcraft.
Same. Sometimes I wish I didn't.
Number two,
but it is what it is.
You know what? I really missed this work. And number three, on the real, it feels amazing to be back and part of this Blizzard family again. As Holly said a bit ago, next year is the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft. I can't even believe it. Whatever. How many of y'all have been playing from the beginning?
Not me, unfortunately. Not quite the beginning. No. No.
I love you, Prison. So given that... What was that? Doesn't matter. We started thinking, so what next?
We go back.
What expansion hook?
Take me back.
What single storyline could possibly match such a historic occasion? We started thinking about, well, I did, the good old days, right? And some of those early mythic ideas that kind of established the background of Warcraft. Started thinking about even some of the newer ideas that have played out more recently, but still in a way, feel a little unresolved. And in the mix
I heard there's a character named
of all that
Sylvanas.
stuff,
Was kind of...
in the mix of all those ideas, particular things like, what the hell has Magni actually been babbling about all these years? Was the thing that he came to warn us about in Battle for Azeroth, did it actually play out? Or is there potentially something darker still looming on the horizon?
Old Gods expansion?
I don't know. Will there eventually be an apocalyptic confrontation between the forces of the light and the void? Talk to me, BlizzCon. I'll tell you what, for nothing, my pally Maine, I'm all in on that kind of thing if it happens. It's gonna happen.
Imagine being a paladin, if you could be a warrior. Imagine playing a paladin.
And really the big question for all the marbles, what have the Titans actually been doing since the dawn of civilization?
Just vibing, probably. Not that deep.
What is the real purpose of all of their cute little installations slammed into the side of the planet? Do we know everything we need to know about their real intentions for our world? Just saying. BlizzCon. All of these hooks and 100 more. 68, carry the 2. A bunch more. All cooking in the pot. Started to reveal a storyline. Something epic. How epic? Real epic. A storyline that in almost every way feels like the culmination of the first 20 years of our storytelling. A storyline provided we do our jobs, we do the thing that will vector us into the next 20 years of adventure.
Tell me more. Tell me more, Metzen. You got me hooked.
BlizzCon. Are you with me, BlizzCon? We call this storyline the World Soul Saga.
Okay.
The World Soul Saga is so epic, as we covered. It cannot be contained within any single expansion.
So they actually have a vision.
It is built to play out over multiple expansions over the next few years.
They have a vision.
Now.
Big W. Big W.
Having said that, we are working on multiple ways to deliver this adventure to you a little faster than you're used to. We're not going to get into it at this BlizzCon, forgive me. But keep your ears peeled. I assure you, we are moving with purpose. And the last thing we really want is for y'all to have your grandkids controlling your mouse and your keyboard trying to wrap this thing up. So, it's coming.
Are they completely redoing expansion
Also,
design?
Given the scale of this monster, we have decided to change it up today. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Instead of just debuting your next expansion all on its lonesome, we have decided to give you a glimpse at your next 3 expansion sets.
Hey, yo, what? Hold up.
Does this meet with your approval, BlizzCon?
They're redoing. No.
My friends, I'm gonna warn you, there may be mild spoilers ahead. Actually, I'm just kidding. They ain't mild. Buckle up. Are you ready, BlizzCon? The first part of the World Soul Saga and your 10th expansion is called World of Warcraft: The War Within. In this chapter, you will be descending into the heart of Azeroth.
They're redoing expansions. These are not expansions. These will be major, major patches. That's what this is, I think.
Engaging with ancient cultures like the Earthen and the terrifying Nerubians of Azj-Kahet.
We're going back. We're going back.
But as the forces of darkness close in around our precious world soul, yeah, that's you, will be called to do what you always do, which is dispense indiscriminate justice upon all those who got it coming. Talk to me, BlizzCon.
I have a big conspiracy. A really, really big conspiracy right now.
The second part of the World Soul Saga is called World of Warcraft: Midnight.
Okay, that sounds so ominous. I love it.
In this chapter, you will be returning, ready, to the old world, to the fabled lands of Quel'Thalas. There, the forces of the Void have invaded Azeroth, intent on snuffing out the light of the Sunwell and plunging the world into darkness and fear. You will not only help reunify the scattered elven tribes of Azeroth, but you will make your stand with the forces of the light and banish the shadow.
Let me open a battle net real quick.
Of course, BlizzCon, it is Azeroth. Things may not go to plan. Things may just spiral wildly out of control, leading us to the third part of the World Soul Saga. World of Warcraft, the last Titan.
Stop pausing. Okay. Don't scare me like that.
In this chapter, you will again be returning to the old world, this time to the wintry lands of Northrend.
Okay.
And there, at Ulduar, you will bear witness to the return of the Titans to Azeroth. And there, you will uncover a vast conspiracy.
You know what this is?
One that stretches throughout the history of the world. One that will challenge everything you think you know about the Titans, their intentions, and the true nature of Azeroth itself. In time, my friend, in time. And
This is
it's
what you call a
called
world
Silithus.
revamp.
There you go.
In 3 stages.
BlizzCon, my hope, our dear hope,
Okay.
is that you can see when it comes to WoW storytelling, we ain't screwing around.
Okay. Okay.
We are playing for all the marbles. We are working to establish a thundering heartbeat for this franchise. Now. Now, BlizzCon. Hearken to me. Always wanted to say that. Thank you. Whether you are a current player, and I'm going to bet that most of you are, or maybe you jumped off the WoW train a few expansions ago, now is the time to come home. Now is the time to pull on your boots, pick up your broadsword or your favorite glowy staff, and get in this fight. Friends, Azeroth needs her defenders now more than ever. Now, in a few moments, we are going to give you a deeper look at the war within. But before we do that, I want to leave you with a little something to chew on. I want to remind you all that sometimes very epic things can begin with small, heartfelt moments. What you're about to see is one of those moments. And with that, BlizzCon, proud defenders of Azeroth, let the World Soul Saga begin.
I have a very big conspiracy right now. Oh my god. Has he become a king? Or is he still kinda,
Anduin.
Look at the fidelity of his face! Look at his face! Please don't tell me he's traveling with Sylvanas. He's traveling with Sylvanas, isn't he?
You're here to tell me we don't get to hide. Is that it?
You needed time.
Green
We
Jesus.
stayed away. But time by itself heals nothing.
You didn't just come here for me.
Look at how gruffled
It's
he
the
looks.
visions. You've seen them.
I suspect many have lately. Something, someone, is calling out from the heart of the world. Like a voice from a dream. Something dark is coming, Anduin. The world needs your light again,
Anduin looks like the most...
my son.
He did the
I'm
thing.
not that person anymore! I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
You are not your past, Anduin.
Look at the
I
fidelity
trust you.
of the leather and the sword. He looks like the most broken ass man, and it's perfect. Look at him, he's a struggler. He's a struggler. He's a literal struggler. Look at him. He's even got the berserk cape.
Hear me.
They're getting worse. Look, whatever's coming, I'll stand with you. Of course I will. But we were drawn here by the voice. Who is it, Thrall? Who's calling out to us?
I'm not sure yet. But that sword was aimed at someone.
Okay, that cinematic, unironically, a 10 out of 10. It was perfect. Oh my god. That was so good.
I guess we're not ignoring that sword anymore. I do have to say, though, every time I see that cinematic, and I've seen it many times, it gets me right in my heart. It feels like a new beginning, and it feels like coming home. And we are so excited about where we are going. And now that you've seen or heard the overview for the World So Saga, let's talk about the war within.
That was...
As we all gather and explore beneath the surface,
Holy
we'll
shit.
find an ancient Nerubian civilization. They will be led by someone we were first introduced to in Legion, Xal'atath.
My theory, I think they're going to make like very, very small
harbinger of the
expansions and
void.
make a lot of them.
The void brings
They're going to
destruction and
redo the
darkness
expansion
that
design from the
all
ground
light
up,
in our
basically.
world. The last time we saw Xalatath, she promised we would meet again. And it turns
BFA also
out
had a great
she was
cinematic.
right. And while
But the
Anduin,
vibe.
Thrall, and others
I want the
share
vibe.
the same visions emanating from the heart of the world,
I want the vibe.
some are seeing something
And that was
quite
Berserk.
different.
Oh, I love that.
My visions are not the same as the others. No radiance, no song. Just the shadow taunting me from below.
Isle of Dorn? That looks so pretty! The Ringing Deeps. This is like Borealis 2.0. Delves. So this is like Torghast / dungeons, I guess. Forge your warband. Master hero talents. What are these things? Uncover the... Okay, I don't care about the new allied race. Elevate your mounts with dynamic flight. Okay. New dungeons and raids. We all knew this was coming. Also, I told you the leak was fake. Told you the leak was fake.
The fate of our world rests upon the edge of a knife. And our battle lies deep within.
Okay. 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 The vibe?
In the War Within, alongside beautiful,
Is
unique
there?
underground zones, we will have challenging dungeons and raids and some new features too that are built to last. If you like exploring on your own with a couple of friends or family,
Built to
we
last.
have delves. These are a variety of bite-sized experiences for 1 to 5 players that will offer endgame rewards.
There it is.
You may also find in your delve a familiar character who'd be willing to fight alongside you. And if you're like me and you have an obsession with alts, we have warbands. With this feature, you could treat all of your characters like family and share banks, reputations, transmogs, and more.
Sorry about that. I think that was supposed to be Xalatath. I think so. That's like
We're
the obvious
also
implication, right?
introducing a new layer of customization for your class specs with hero talents. You might want to take your character down the path of a Dark Ranger, let's say, or a Farseer, and more.
So these are basically class skins. What we've been theorizing about for years.
Also, during your travels underground, you will meet the Earthen Dwarves, and you'll be able to unlock them as our new allied race.
I think I'm kind of over allied races at this point. I think there are too many of them.
I mean, who doesn't love a dwarf? The facial hair options.
I just want to play a plain dwarf.
There's so much more to talk about, so please join the What Next panel that's coming up right after the opening ceremony right here. What I can tell you, though, is that the call to get into the fight to save our world will ring out when the War Within releases next year.
Fall 2024. That's a long time.
And lastly, I sincerely want to say, we are so excited to begin this new journey with you. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for bringing our world to life.
They mentioned like systems to last and stuff
and now,
like that.
with his own note of thanks, Mike Ibarra.
My big conspiracy is that they're basically redoing how they do World of Warcraft content overall. I think they're basically scrapping their current expansion design completely, basically. Because
BlizzCon 2022. would like to thank our partners.
I'm gonna turn this down. What I think they're doing is I think they're...
Power your dreams.
I don't think it's just like a, look, we have a vision. I don't think so. I don't think so, because they wouldn't make such a big deal out of it. I don't think so. I think what they're doing is they're making one big cohesive narrative, telling us about it, and now we're going to have smaller expansions, but that are like a lot more cohesive, and they actually blend together. And it's not like this jarring thing of Battle for Azeroth starting as a war, suddenly we go into the Shadowlands, and from the Shadowlands we suddenly descend back to the Dragon Isles, and it's a bit like weird. So I think what they're going to do is, we've already seen this with Dragonflight, that there are just a lot more patches. A lot of them might not come with like a bunch of content, but they really forward the game as a whole. And I think that's what they're trying to do, right? Which I think is good. And you might have noticed, they showed Dalaran. He mentioned, Metzen mentioned that we're going to North End. We talked about returning to the old world. That is a world revamp in 3 stages. They're revamping the world, and we're going back. I don't know how that's going to look like, because there's still new zones. So, I don't know. I don't know. And they didn't talk about features a lot. They mentioned a bunch of them. Not that many, though. This is a weird one. This is a really, really weird one. The cinematic, though. Oh my god. The cinematic for the expansion? That was so good.
Thank you.
That cinematic was the ultimate struggler cinematic. I loved it. They always had good cinematics. They did, but this one was not only good, but it nailed the vibe of World of Warcraft. And for me, currently, that is the most important. Because the Dragonflight cinematic was good, but it was kind of, how do I put it? It was kind of big picture and more so about the world, you know? This one was about Anduin, and I love that. That is so good. And the fact that he looks like a scruffed up old man, this is like the most struggler thing I've ever seen. Look at his beard, look at his face. He's just covered in small cuts and scars. His blade is broken. Look at it. His armor is all dirty. He's following these visions. He's literally look at his eyes. They're just hollow. This is so good.
Anduin.
Look at him. He looks like a struggler. I love it. And like even small things, right? Let me skip forward a bit. Like a shot of his whole body. This, by the way, right here, this is perfect. Like the fact that he has the cape around him, like it's like literally the most scruffed up cape of ever, basically. It's the Berserk cape, right? But underneath, he still has his armor. That is so cool. And he does the Lich King pose. He does the Lich King pose, but not like the Lich King where it was cold and he wanted to do this. With Anduin, it's out of madness. He's a hurt and broken man. His teeth are way too white, but I'll take it. Man, is this a good cinematic? I love this cinematic. Look at it. It's so hurt and regretful.
That person anymore.
Look at his eyes. They're just bloodshot.
I have no light. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I've done.
Oh, this.
You are not your past, Anduin.
And this shot right here, like purely the fidelity. Look at this. Like he pokes the leather, right? Look at this.
I trust you.
Like the relief of just I trust. Oh, that is so good. My only fear about this is that like this cinematic has this struggler vibe where Anduin is just this absolutely broken man, but when we get into the game, that vibe is lost. Because they have a vision for 3 huge like story beats, right? Basically. Let's just call them 3 acts, you know? They're probably not going to follow the traditional 3-act structure, but for the sake of argument, 3 acts, right? So I hope that this vision plays into all of that. And it's not like we see Anduin being this like scruffed up dude, and we get into the patch and we like quest with Anduin for 30 minutes, and in 30 minutes we're just randomly helping the locals again. Because that's what I think the biggest problem with WoW expansions is, right? It's that like the cinematic sets the vibe, we get into the continent, and the vibe is there for all of 30 minutes, and then we're just like, oh, you're new here. Well, it's this new landmass. You're the heroes of Azeroth. I really want to feed my family, so could you go and get me 10 rabbits, please? And then you go out and kill the rabbits, and then you, like, 10 hours later, you hit level cap, and you're just like, wait a minute. Why did I get here again? I'm just talking to the locals, which, you know, I think it works to a certain extent, but I think you need a through line. And I think a through line is what World of Warcraft has been missing for quite a while. If Anduin is that through line, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really, really cool. So if he teams up with Thrall, and we're just vibing with these visions, oh man. And by the way, like purely visualizing this vision, this immediately reminds me of Oppenheimer. Where is it?
Is out from the heart of the world.
This right here. This right here reminds me of the opening
World needs your
bit of
light
Oppenheimer.
again. My
This is so good.
son.
The facial expressions. God damn. Oh, I love that. I don't think this will pull new players to the game. They need more. Can you put side by side this one and the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic? The cinematic failing to give me a reason to play. Getting people to get back into the game will always be a hard one. And this cinematic and this entire thing does set up a like, it's not a urgent one. It's a more hopeless one, and we need help, you know? This is more so about, like, really strengthening those bonds that were once there. With Wrath and seeing Arthas, it was a, holy shit, it's Arthas. Things are bad. With this, I think it's going for a different vibe. I can definitely see what you mean, but for me, this is going back to the roots of a dark and depressing story about a dude who has lost it all, and now he just needs to fight to save his world. Like, the only goal for Anduin right now is finding these visions. He's a lone man wandering the world. He has nothing. He doesn't want anyone. He looks like this, like his beard is just jutting out of his face. He is unkempt. He's just a broken warrior wandering the world trying to save his kingdom. That is what World of Warcraft is to me. We don't have a big hype, like a big hype moments of Arthas, but in terms of vibe and themes, this is World of Warcraft to me. I see what you mean, though. I see what you mean. Be honest, did you cry as well? No. I don't cry about media at all. This right here, the fact that this is a, this is not a flashback, right? This is what he is feeling right now. The fact that, like, his mind is still there, I do hope they, they explain a bit more about the grasp of the jailer and all that. It's like, because let's be honest, that part of the story was kind of take it or leave it. But in terms of emotion, this is so good. This is not a flashback. This is him right now. This is what he is feeling in this very moment. And we go, like, the direct mirroring of Thrall holding his shoulder, that's his right shoulder, and his father pushing him on his left.
Is calling out from the heart of the world. Like a voice from a dream. Something dark is coming, Anduin.
Man, this is so good.
The world.
He became a
needs
budget
your
Viking.
light again. My son.
Oh, that is... I wonder if he's going to remember Sourfang, though. Right? Because Sourfang was also a really important figure in his story. Because his father is on his left and Thrall is on his right. Where's Sourfang? Is Sourfang just pushing him along?
I'm not that person anymore.
Man, like, this right here, his face in this entire scene.
I am not that person anymore. I have no light. Not after what I've seen.
You know what? You know what this... Oh my god, I just realized why this hits so hard to me. This is ZUKO and IROH. That's what this is. This is basically ZUKO's The Beach speech, you know? Like, who are you angry at? I'm angry at myself. But instead of Mei and like Azula and everyone else being around him, it's IROH. This is just the... Oh my god, no, this is just Lake Lao guy. You need to begin... you need to look inward and ask yourself the big questions. Who are you and what do you want? Only this time it's kind of like the Berserk edition.
Not after what I've done.
But the trembling hand. That's so
You are
good.
Not your past, Anduin. I trust you.
I wonder how long has passed. Look at him. Look at him. He still has bits of his armor, but around him he just has the scruffed up cloak. That is so good.
Hear me.
I'm just a sucker for these sorts of stories where there's like a wanderer, like a lone warrior wandering the land and trying to figure out something, trying to find something, trying to fight something. I just love this vibe. Because it's like, it's the ultimate expression of helplessness, bleakness, and it's just, it nails it, right? This is why Diablo 2, like sort of the overarching story of Diablo 2 is so good, I think. Because it's just trying to find Diablo. You're just chasing him with no hope, and everything just sort of happens, everyone dies, everything is bad. That's why I like, that's what I like. That's why I love Berserk. That's the Berserk story I've read so far. I'm still just before the end of the Conviction arc, but that's the vibe I've gotten from Berserk for each and every chapter. There is no hope, you're just trying to fight off the immediate threat and trying to survive. That's what this cinematic gives me. And man, do I love it.
They're getting worse.
I'd be interested. What if they try doing, like, the entire expansion story is just Thrall and Anduin? I wonder how that would look like. Like, if we do have maybe small pockets of side quests, but the through line is just Anduin and Thrall. And it would also be interesting. I don't think they can do this. I don't think they can. This is just like me throwing out fanfiction at this point. I wonder how it would look like if they went back to their roots in the sense of, we are following Anduin and Thrall, and we are not on the same level. We are not the champion of Azeroth. We are not the savior of Azeroth. We're not any of these things. We are actually just following Anduin and Thrall and sort of being their force. The army standing behind them, you know? This has been my dream fanfiction story of like, I don't know how this would work out, but I've always thought about a story where like we are completely defeated and then we build up from nothing, right? So that is how I would envision this. We don't have any factions, we don't have any allegiances, we just follow Thrall and Anduin trying to save the world. Something like that, right? And in that sense, we'd be nobodies. They're not going to do this. They're never going to do this. The genie is out of the bottle. We've saved the world 15 million times. We've traveled to a different dimension 15 million times. It's not going to happen. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. At least they have a vision. They have a vision, and that's what matters to me. I just hope they stick the landing. We'll see what happens with the actual expansion, obviously. But in terms of vibe, they got me. The most important bit for me in Warcraft currently, because I think like Dragonflight as an expansion in terms of gameplay, it is extremely formulaic and it does get boring. Like, it is extremely formulaic. The only thing that Dragonflight is really missing aside from that is the vibe. Let me finish that thought. So, aside from the game actually being like super formulaic and nothing really interesting happening, to me the biggest thing was always the vibe, right? The story of a game, I don't think matters unless the whole thing just feels off. Like, for example, take Elden Ring. I'm going to use Elden Ring as the best example. When you play Elden Ring, you might really, really like the story. You don't understand it. Don't try to lie to me. You do not understand the story of Elden Ring almost at all. But the vibe is so strong that you become interested in the story and then begin to understand it through like a VOTI video, right? With World of Warcraft, it's been kind of the opposite. The game itself could be good, but the story is kind of, to me at least personally, I don't connect with it basically at all. It feels kind of all over the place, and I just don't vibe with it. Like, the vibe isn't there, and I'm not interested in the rest of the game. The story is not that important, but it feels off, and the rest of the game also feels off. You know? It's a weird thing. It is literally like a vibe check, so I don't think you can really talk about it critically. But for me, it is very, very important. Like, I genuinely think Elden Ring is the best example. I don't understand what's going on in Elden Ring. I play Elden Ring, it is badass, and then I look at a video, and then I understand Elden Ring. But the vibe is just so strong that I want to learn more about it. I didn't mention this at all earlier. The only thing that is kind of worrisome to me, and you know, we'll let them cook, is that we are moving into the actual Titan forces and explaining what they want. Because, like, the words Metzen used is actually understanding what they're doing, what they want, what their goals are, why basically everything exists. That's basically what he insinuated, right? And I'm kind of worried about that. Because sometimes these fundamental things are better left untouched. They just are. Not everything needs to be explained, you know? I think with a lot of these things, it is better to feel their touch, to hear about them, to piece things together that might insinuate some sort of belief, some sort of desire, something, but never actually explore them. We'll see. Because this is, like, exploring these fundamental forces, what it creates is the problem of constant scope creep. Like, okay, you've explored the Titans. Where do you go from there? Well, you go one layer up. Okay, well, now we're exploring, like, the void itself. Well, where do you go from there? Well, now you're exploring the freaking, I don't even know. Well, let me look at the cosmology chart of WoW again. I think the problem is just, like, how much further out can you go, right? You can still go out, like, a bunch more. You can go, like, oh yeah. So after the Titans, you just go to what? The Order? And at that point, it's so abstract that I don't know. I'm very careful with these godlike forces, basically, is the way I describe them. Because if you look at, like, Martin's work, for example, right? Like the Lord of Light and all of these things, they do exist. You see them. You sometimes literally see their presence, the things they do, but you don't understand any of them. They just are, and that's it. I think that's fine. Not everything needs to be explained. Some things just happen. And if you want to go back to what I said about the bleakness of the world, I think that's one thing that like is very, very important for these worlds. Things just happen. You don't understand them. They aren't explained. They're out of your control. They just happen. In a lot of cases, you'd say that that is an oversight in writing. You know, like, wow, it just happened. But when used sparingly, I think it can be, like, very, very powerful. I don't know, I could ramble on about these things for hours. I find these things really, really interesting from, like, a world building perspective. Especially, again, World of Warcraft is designed to go on for a long time. You can't make, like, a 2-year story where the design is that you will explore all of these things and then realize, hold on, we explored everything and we only did it in 2 years. What do we do next? You know? You need to have, like, a long-term vision for these things. Which they do. Because, like, with Wrath of the Lich King, it's just Wrath, right? With Burning Crusade, it's BC.
4 years
With War Within, it's just going to be War Within, I guess.
since the mortal races gathered together in Anaheim, California. And now, the drums of BlizzCon thunder once again. Let me hear the thunder! Yes! Ah! Oh, thank you. Thank
I
you
just
for
saw
being here
someone
with us
still wearing
today.
the
Hello,
Nazaf
everyone,
helmet
and
thing.
welcome to the World of
I still have it
Warcraft
on my
What's Next
character.
channel. My name is Taryn Gregory, and as you may have heard, thank you. As you may have heard from Chris during the opening ceremonies, we are at the dawn of a new era of Warcraft. The World Soul Saga. A story that will play out over the next 3 expansions and will take us on an adventure in World of Warcraft like we've never experienced before.
Which, by the way,
This saga kicks off with the War Within.
arguably,
In this first
this
chapter,
is not the
our
first
heroes will be
time.
called on an expedition to the
Because
subterranean depths of
Sylvanas
Azeroth, revealing a new world full of mystery,
was
wonder,
Legion BFA
and
and
darkness.
Shadowlands.
There we will confront the shadows below and face new challenges on the battlefield as well as in ourselves. So what is next? During this section, I'll share an overview of the story of the War Within, and then next you'll hear from Maria Hamilton, who will speak to zones and cultures, and then wrapping up with Morgan Day, who will talk about dungeons, the raid, and our new systems. Let's dig in. In our cinematic reveal, did you guys enjoy the cinematic?
The cinematic was S+ tier. I loved it.
Ooh. Big shout out to the cinematic team for their work on that. It's just incredible work. We witnessed as Thrall found Anduin Rin, who has been wandering alone for the last few years, grappling, lost in his own thoughts, and dealing with the experience that he's been through, as many of you may have remembered. Throughout this and our features trailer, we learned 2 very important developments, starting with these visions. Thrall spoke of a vision calling out from the heart of the world, like a voice from a dream. This radiant song will compel our heroes to investigate its origins.
Radiant
song. At the same
song.
time, a darkness has been gathering.
That sounds so
Even
cool.
As the heroes adventured
Radiant
on the Dragon
song.
Isles, and in the War Within, the mysterious harbinger that Iridikron spoke of will reveal themselves. Xal'atath has returned.
Yep. And she's no longer a sword.
Freed long
guess not
ago
a
from the
sword.
black blade that once bound her, she is now the harbinger of a new era of the Void's dark machinations. And her message is clear. The Black Empire has fallen. The old gods are dead. And their ancient blood runs deep within the cracks of the world. We, the heroes of Azeroth, destroyed them. The forces of the Horde and the Alliance have proven time and again they are among the most powerful armies that have ever stood. The Harbinger has watched this. She is patient. And while the Black Empire failed, Xal'atath now seeks to set in motion the rise of a new dark legacy, one that knows our true strength and will seek to test it against a new threat of terrible power, the Nerubians of Ashkahet. Xal'atath has conscripted the Nerubian queen Ansarek, having offered her people a new future, one in which they will rise from their isolation as a mighty kingdom once again. And here in this sprawling city of Ashkahet, we will not find the undead soldiers of the Lich King that we faced before, but instead a new mighty stronghold of the Nerubians as they once were, deadly survivors of the mythic wars that have played out time and again over thousands of years.
Okay.
In return for their loyalty, Xal'atath has granted the Nerubians the means of a dark evolution, one that will turn the Nerubians into a new kind of ferocious.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this just going to be like all of them are just void infused?
Time and again in the War Within. Now let's talk about who we'll be adventuring with. How do you like the key art?
The key art is badass.
Several of Azeroth's greatest heroes will rise to the call of the Radiant Song, and many will be faced with their own unique challenges. Anduin, having survived his ordeal with domination. Yes, look at the art. Oh, incredible artwork. Anduin will be grappling with his relationship to the Holy Light that he no longer feels worthy of, while Thrall is seeking a connection to these visions.
I would kind of
and working to find his new place in the Horde.
I'd be interested if Anduin doesn't get his light back. I think it'd be interesting.
The heavy weight of that responsibility once and for all.
If you tell me about the wounds.
Champion! The wounds champion! Yes!
No! The voices.
But that brings us to, I know you saw this in the features trailer, Alaria Windrunner.
Haven't seen her in a while.
Alaria's journey will be central to the events of the themes of the War Within, as she, a Void Hunter, will use all of her prowess to hunt down the Harbinger while being torn between her own nature and the maddening call of the Void to which she is attuned. Along the adventure, she will have a unique rivalry with Xalatath, whose twists and turns will come to define the nature of this new conflict. Of course, we'll see many more familiar faces on our journey and meet a host of new and interesting characters along the way that Maria is going to tell you more about in just a moment. But finally, this saga is only just beginning. Conceived to be... Yes! Conceived to be an epic worthy of the first 20 years of World of Warcraft, the World Soul Saga aims to redefine the storytelling in our expansion set and strike boldly at the core themes that define Warcraft. The might of heroes, the responsibility of that power,
yes,
the pursuit of justice.
This is what I mean. He's just like a lone dude wandering the earth.
And the importance of finding common ground as well as ourselves amidst adversity. Up next, may I introduce Maria Hamilton, who will be sharing more about our zones and cultures in the War Within. Thank you so much.
This is what I want to see. Like, how much of it is big picture and how much of it is just going to be the same thing. We land on a new land, we do a bunch of quests for the locals. It's kind of like, why am I here?
Hello, BlizzCon.
You know?
Wow,
Tell me more.
I'm so excited to be here and delighted to represent our team and tell you about the places that we will explore and the cultures we will encounter in the War Within. I can't really see all of you out there. I know there's a lot of you, though, because I can hear you. And I hope to hear lots of oohs and ahs when you see some of this cool art I've got to show you. So let's get started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Okay. As Taryn mentioned earlier, we'll be called by the Radiant Song, dreamlike visions that come from the heart of the Azeroth. This summons is going to lead us to the subcontinent of Khaz-Algar, a place long forgotten. It's only through recent explorations in Uldaman that we've discovered a Watcher report concerning a contingent of Earthen that was sent to this place long, long ago to investigate a fissure in the sector. What exactly that means, we don't really know, but we can probably speculate. So first, let's talk about the Earthen. Ooh, there you go. There you go. All right, we have met Titan-forged Earthen before, of course, in Ulduar and other places. But this society of Earthen has been isolated within Khaz-Algar for a really long time and have developed their own manners and customs. Now, visually, these Earthen are a bit larger in stature, and they're noticeably blinged out. They've got gems all over them, bedazzled, blinged out, you know, that kind of thing, right?
So they're fancy, bigger dwarves.
Philosophically, they are guided by the edicts
so
of
they're
the
really
Titans,
like Magni.
a set of codified orders, duties, and expectations.
They will really like Magni.
Instructions for the core functions of their society. You know, Titans, order, all that, right? But the Titans have been absent for eons, and the Earthen are no longer united in their adherence to these edicts. They now exist as three groups that are estranged from each other. The Oathsworn, as their name suggests, still uphold the edicts faithfully and believe everyone else is doing it wrong. Their charge is guarding the Core Way, a Titan passageway that leads right to the core of Azeroth. They're primarily the city dwellers. They live conveniently near the object of their responsibility, that Core Way. Now, the Unbound, in contrast, have abandoned the edicts, and they are considered scandalously rebellious by the Oathsworn. Their original responsibility was providing the materials to keep the Titan installations supplied, and they're primarily rural. They're living in and around the quarries and the mines where natural resources can be acquired. They rarely interact with the city dwellers. They feel neglected and ignored because they have a different opinion on how they should live.
Just like me, for real, for real.
Now, the machine speakers have strayed from the edicts in practice, but not with respect to their overall obligation to keep the Titan works functioning. They've had
they're selling you a
extremely
reskinned
limited
dragonfly?
contact
What do you
with the
mean?
surface dwellers, and they express no little disdain for those who just don't understand the great machines. Their homes are built around vast industrial projects under the surface that allow them to perform their functions in accordance with edicts, more or less. These different perspectives among the Earthen and their variable adherence to the Titans' edicts has weakened the society as originally structured. And that's not good, of course, but a much more serious problem is their steadily dwindling numbers. For reasons that I'm not going to get into here and now, New Earthen can't exist until we help them out by doing some things and unite the Earthen society once more.
Okay.
Happily, as a result of our actions,
How much of that is because...
the Earthen will eventually be unlocked as an allied race. Yeah, like sweet, don't they? Yeah. These player
Please
Earthen,
give these to normal
These
dwarves.
player Earthen will replenish the culture's dwindling numbers and may join either the Horde or the Alliance. Yeah. It is, of course, player's choice which side you wish to ally with. But as you can see from a small sampling of combinations, there's some fantastic variations and customizations coming.
Has
for
nothing
the
to do with
Earthen
Giant Sword
models,
Azeroth or Old Gods.
including
That's what I
different gem
mean.
incrustations,
That is what I want to
beards for
learn
all
right
body
now,
types,
is
rocky
how
skin
much of this is big
patterns,
picture and how much of this
tones,
is
and
just
more. Now,
the
that
same
golden
thing,
mohawk
right?
with the
Where we sort
braids,
of
the
land,
fringe
and the
beard,
first opening of the
that's quite
expansion
look. But I
is just like
really
we do
like the
random
beardless guy
things
with the bushy
that are not at
blonde,
all associated with really
eyebrows.
the
He
big
looks so
picture.
cool. He's just
That's
kinda
what I
like,
meant.
Yep, what do you want me to do?
And I want to see
So,
how much of this
anyway,
is just
all right,
like we
moving on.
land there and these are the locals,
Another cool
and how much of it
culture
is
that players
actually
will
like
encounter in
the
War
core
Within
narrative.
is the Arathi.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, and you probably have questions, right? So these are descendants of the original Arathorian Empire, and they've arrived relatively recently and through some
That was
somewhat
cool.
mysterious circumstances. And they find themselves trapped here within Khazalgar. Mysterious mostly because I can't say anything more about it just yet because of spoilers, but it's not like spooky mysterious, it's the other kind. As a people, the Arathi are worshippers and wielders of holy fire. They are dedicated to bringing hope and
I love
light
that they're
to
doing
the
like more
darkness.
asymmetric soldier
They're tough, resilient
soldiers
people,
shoulders.
with every member of the society being an
That's cool.
able combatant. Some few are further blessed with paladin-like abilities through their devotion to the light. Even their airships are powered by sacred flame. The
That's cool.
extent to which they're comfortable in battle is probably a good thing because they have established a home away from home in an enormous cavern bordered by an endless underground sea from which terrifying creatures emerge to rampage and create havoc. Not my idea of a cool place to hang out, but they're really, really tough. These watery monstrosities, though, are nothing compared to the threat from below. A constant swarm of Nerubians has been held back so far from invading the Arathi lands. The assault is unrelenting, the threat is dire, and the Arathi can't hold much longer. These bastions of light against the darkness are far from home and limited in number. Sure would be terrible if there was also division within the Arathi ranks. Just saying. That would be pretty rough, what with them being so outnumbered. We could probably help them. All right, speaking of the Nerubians in the War Within, we'll explore their last kingdom deep within Khazalgar.
You know what I'm
These
surprised they still
ancient
haven't done?
survivors of the Black
I'm surprised they
Empire who
haven't done the
rejected their
usual
former
thing
masters
of like
have developed their
these things
own
being
culture
infused
here in
with
the deep
void,
darkness.
and when we kill
As
them, they
Tara
transform
mentioned
into like
earlier,
small
Zalatath
beings.
has made a bargain with
It's like the
Nerubian
usual thing of
queen Ansaret,
their power only being
who seeks
visible
a new
while they're
future
alive
and
because they're
new
infused
glory
with it.
for her people.
You know, that's like a common fantasy
The
trope.
Nerubians are
You see it like in
extremely
Elden Ring and in
capable
Berserk and everything.
devious adversaries
It's like
who
when
have
they
been
die, they just
honing
transform
their
into
skills
back into their
with
plain form.
constant assault on the
Surprised we haven't
Arathi.
seen anything like that.
But domination hasn't come fast enough for the Queen's taste, as the Arathi has managed to hold against this onslaught.
Technically, I guess
So
we
this
have seen it
deal
with a
the
few raid
Harbinger
bosses, maybe, but I
has
don't know.
included some assistance for her
I want just
troops.
ads to do
Through
that.
some dark alchemical process, Zalatath has
The most
provided
random
knowledge
thing I know, but
required
I think it's
to
cool.
evolve chosen Nerubians into paragons of their race, enhancing their viciousness. And Queen Ansaret has embraced these modifications with enthusiasm and eagerly offered her army to achieve the Harbinger's schemes. It appears to be a win-win situation. But not all Nerubians share their sovereign's enthusiasm for change and her embrace of Zalatath. Shadowy figures with far too many limbs maneuver against the Harbinger's plans in opposition to the Queen's desire. As you might expect, any foray into this Nerubian kingdom introduces us to a variety of citizens, including some forms we've never encountered before. Here's a layout of some of the Nerubian models that are completed and also some that are in progress, as well as scale reference for goblins and humans, so you just get a sense of size. In addition to the Nerubian citizens, there are also domesticated insects who serve the kingdom as beasts of burden and pets. The team is hard at work building out the full range of carapaces, carapae, I don't know, whichever, skittering legs, grabby arms, piercing spiky bits, and creepy eyes for you to enjoy, I guess. All right, let's talk about our zones. The surface of Khazalgar is our first zone.
This is
called
perfect.
The Isle of Dorn.
I love this.
This is the home of the earth and surface dwellers, as well as other native species of creatures.
I love this.
The
It's like Twilight
soil,
Highlands.
flowering plant life, and generous waterways provide nourishment for animals in this untouched paradise. An important facet of earthen society is Cinderbrew mead. This volatile substance is manufactured from molten honey produced by enormous fiery bees. Their home groves are a remarkable sight, as the hearts of the trees themselves glow with lava-like fluid.
It's kind of cool as well.
Harvesting is always an exciting time, as the ferocious creatures are understandably protective of their hives. Now, the roosts at Storm Watch are wreathed with
This gives me
lightning and
Legion
fierce
vibes.
winds.
I
These
dig it.
wild elemental rooks may choose to serve a member of the Oathsworn, who if so blessed
This is a bit
becomes
too
Storm
bright, I
Rider, one of the guardian warriors of the earthen people.
This is really cool.
The Unbound deal with hostile creatures from time to time, but for their most part, the existence is fairly relatively peaceful,
I dig it.
peaceful.
Dwarfs.
Their comfortable homes are often situated near the places where they once labored as adherents to the edicts. Those sites are now in disrepair, and in some cases, the lair of other creatures. Of course, the Isle of Dorn boasts a great walled city where the Oathsworn live and serve the edicts of the Titans. The city of Dornagal is the location of many important civic buildings, markets, traders, and crafters. And it's
Isle of Dorn,
here
have a feeling
that
that is going to be my
traveler
favorite
will
zone.
find
It's not even going to be
expected
close.
amenities of a capital city, as well as the Titan Causeway, the defense of which is the Oathsworn's primary charge. Now, beneath the surface of the Isle of Dorn lies our second zone, the Ringing Deeps. As the name suggests, it is here that the Earthen are engaged in their work in accordance with the edicts. In these industrial areas of this cavernous space are huge, complicated machines, lava-heated foundries and forges, and waterworks, both to cool and to power huge machinery. Maintaining these Titan mechanisms and keeping everything running is both the responsibility and the passion of the machine speakers.
This looks kind of cool.
The Earth has shifted too in places, revealing openings to the sky above to the Isle of Dorn. These cenotes bring light and water.
So this
into
is where we're
areas
going
once
to see
shrouded
them
in
incorporate
darkness.
the dynamic
Abundant
flight
greenery,
thingy, right? Where
flowers,
like
and
no
creatures
loading
that
screens
do not
happen. You can just
typically
move between the
dwell in
zones, I
caverns
guess.
may be found in
That's
these
cool.
idyllic spots. It was really important to us as developers that we delivered the fantasy of the hard-working industry, but still had some break-up areas of natural beauty that don't feel like dark, constrained tunnels. Now, as the machine speaker population has dropped, they've had increasing difficulties with kobold incursions, and indeed the kobolds have taken over the mines, the work areas. They've even built a city of their own. Unexpectedly, the kobolds are actually becoming a force to be reckoned with.
They just
under the
move in and
aggressive
build their own
actions
city.
of their leader, the Candle King. You knew it had to be a candle. No take candle. No take candle. With the passage of time, the Earthen have diminished both in number and in the knowledge required to perform the various routines to tune and repair the processes.
This is a cool zone as
The
well.
old ways have been
It
forgotten,
doesn't hold up to
and
Dorn,
new
though.
creative methods must be employed if the edicts are to be obeyed. So they're kind of making it
We'll
up
see,
as they go
though.
along.
Because mines can sometimes be a pain in the
From the
ass.
Ringing Deeps, we descend further into Khazalgar to reach Hollowfall, a vast hollow area in the earth,
This is
bordered
like-
by an endless underground sea. This tenuous foothold under the bright light of an enormous crystal has allowed the
This is like
Arathi to
Tanan
survive,
plus
using
Borealis.
their airships to travel to high plateaus and establish docks, light towers, villages.
Yeah, the
and even a
architecture is like
priory.
straight up Borealis.
From their capital of Mereldar, these
can see
trapped
floating islands,
people
though.
strive to keep hope alive and spread the light, while engaged in a near constant battle with the Nerubians at their borders. The open spaces, the bright light, and the greenery are intended to feel as
Oh,
though
that
we're
looks
on the
so cool.
surface, somehow, rather than in this sort of strange hollow within Azeroth. The crystal provides brilliant light, warmth, and growth for vegetation. You may notice that all the blooming plants have opened their blossoms toward the light and seem to be reaching in that direction whenever they're in Hollowfall.
That looks
Unfortunately, the crystal sun has been changing in recent years. Where once the light was steady and reliable, it now fades without warning, plunging the Arathi into darkness, save where they have built light towers and maintain their holy flame beacons. In the absence of this light, the dangerous Kobis and other fierce creatures emerge from the sea to rampage. As the Arathi are barely holding back the Nerubians, these unpredictable
So you will kill
episodes
kobolds and
are
collect lava things,
incredibly
something until the next patch.
demoralizing
I
and
mean,
deadly.
if you say it like that, I mean, that's every
The light
game
has
ever
always
made.
returned to the crystal,
But yes,
so far.
yes.
And at the deepest descent in the War Within, we reach the zone of Azj-Kahet. That almost rhymes. Anyway, the Nerubian city of Threads has been built on the ruins
This
of
looks like
itself
Maldraxxus, and I hated
over
Maldraxxus.
and over and over again. As areas decay and crumble,
It looks like a
new
mixture of
district is
Maldraxxus
built
and,
upon its ruins, and as a result, the
Nazjatar.
city climbs ever higher. Those Nerubians favored by the queen, or possessing enormous wealth, or both, command the greatest views and live
This
in
is
the
this is
highest places
absolutely my
over
least
these
favorite zone. It's
swarming
not
masses
even
of the many
close.
districts.
Like the rest of them were interesting.
The
This is like
Burrows
mid.
the home of the
I don't like the zone
scavengers,
already.
the forgotten,
I haven't even
deep
been
in the
there. I already
decay
don't
and
like
the
it.
filth. The Umbral Bazaar is a trading hub of fine silks, fascinating alchemical discoveries, and
I want
other
to see the
exotic
systems.
and hard to
Give me the
find
systems.
goods.
I want to see the
The
systems.
Skanes are the home of the lore keepers and scholars who toil to maintain
like
the
the zone.
history of their people
I
and
don't.
research myths and legends
Give me the
of
systems.
Azeroth.
That's what I care
There are
about.
many other districts and less than savory neighborhoods.
The
both
zones look
well-known
really, really
and
big,
secret, that the
which is
careful
cool.
adventurer could
I
discover
hope they continue
should
building
they
them
risk
like from the
life and
ground
limb
up
to
with
do so.
Dragonfly,
But the key to
Dragonfly,
such
dragon writing in
exploration
mind.
is fitting in among the Nerubians and being accepted, an enterprise both best accomplished through skill in the use of pheromones and considerable bravery. The zone of Azj-Kahet features areas of
Looks neat.
spectacular dark beauty that are inhabited by these creatures that have found a way to live among the Nerubians without being deemed a threat, found to be particularly tasty to consume.
Yeah,
or
this
just too
is
much fun to
like
torment.
Maldraxxus plus Nazjatar.
The
I don't
mobilization
like
of
it at
forces
all.
to assault the Arathi while also providing
like the
military
zone.
might to achieve Xalatath's schemes has stirred up all sorts of
Nah.
inhabitants of the darkness.
Nah.
And deep within the city itself, the Nerubians are gathering an odd substance, the black blood of the old gods, for some unknown purpose. But I'm sure that's fine. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about our zone flow. As I mentioned, awesome, huh?
Yeah, so you can just fly between all of them. That's good. This is a universal dub.
We travel from the Isle
Look
of
at
Dorn
that.
into the Ringing Deeps, into Hollowfall, and then into Azj-Kahet.
Yep.
In the War Within, all of our zones are connected all together using the airlock technology that we developed for Zaralek Cavern, allowing for this seamless descent from the Isle of Dorn
Biggest
all the way
W
to Azj-Kahet.
known to man.
That was video I just captured last week of the transition between the Ringing Deeps and Hollowfall. As you can see, we built for dynamic flight, and we were
Shadowlands
able
vibes
to
from the
flow
dispatch,
directly
all the
between
things
the
you'll
zones
do.
without the load screen.
Will not affect the
There
big
is some
picture.
seriously amazing
I disagree with that
sweeping
already,
goodness to be
because
had
Shadowlands was
moving across
fundamentally
these zones and through
disconnected.
these spaces. It
Shadowlands was
feels
fundamentally
so
disconnected
cool
in every
to
sense of the
burst
word.
out of a really
It was
tight
different
area into
zones
just
with
a
different stories,
huge
and
drop like
they
that.
literally
It's
were not
so
connected.
exhilarating. Now, this blobby
This is
map that
already
I've got
more
up here
connected than
was an
Shadowlands
early
ever was.
attempt during development of our
Purely
zone
from how the
flow
zones are built.
to try to figure out
We'll see,
how
though.
we would stack these zones together and achieve the relationship between their geography and geometry that made sense and felt great to traverse. We ended up with something slightly different than this, but this is pretty representative to explain what the world builders were thinking about when they planned these spaces out. It was really important to our design that while 3 of the 4 zones are technically underground, they didn't feel that way. And
Yeah,
that they
people
were
don't like
distinctly
underground zones.
different from one another. We pursued that goal by introducing the natural cenotes in the Ringing Deeps and leaning into the fantasy of the classic underground foundry and industrial workspaces. So even in the zone that felt the tightest, there's places that look as though they're actually on the surface. And within
That's very good.
Hollowfall,
It's very
we
smart.
created a massive hollow space in a cavern so vast it feels like an exterior, with a huge artificial sun in the form of a gigantic crystal.
Yes.
And in Aj-Kahet, we leaned hard into traditional Nerubian architecture with hanging nests.
This is very smart. They're learning their lessons from all the zones that people didn't like. This is good. This is good.
And that is the last bit of eye candy I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed
Okay,
this
give me
peek at what
systems.
we've got in development.
Give me systems. I know you'll make things that look pretty. I know you'll sell me on music and everything. Give me systems.
So now it's time for
If
me
it's
to
just
introduce
more
you to
dungeons and
Morgan
raids,
Day,
that's when we're in
who's
trouble.
going to give you lots of information about dungeons, raids, and systems. Enjoy. Thanks very much. Bye.
Give me systems. What do you got for me? Player housing? I think it's small. It's not small. It was a very, very chosen period of thingy. The zones are definitely not small.
My name is Morgan Day, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the upcoming content, features, and systems in The War Within. I'm sure I'll also make some funny faces that I'll regret later in thumbnails, but whatever. First up, let's talk about dungeons. There will be 8 new dungeons coming in The War Within, 4 during level up, 1 in each of the 4 zones that Maria
This is like
walked us
surprise
through,
Pikachu face.
as well as
A
4
new
at
expansion
max
brings
level.
8 new dungeons.
There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in these dungeons. For instance, we have like a kobold dungeon where you'll meet that Candle King, where there's like a light mechanic that takes place. You have to kind of keep it going to light your way. There's a dragon riding dungeon, of course, but also one of my favorites is the Cinderbrew Meadery that Maria just talked us through. So this is a dungeon that takes place on our first zone, the Isle of Dorn, which is where you'll experience, all of our earthen buddies, and this is the place where they make that Cinderbrew mead that she was talking about. They're taking all that honey that they gather from throughout the zone to make the mead, to do all kinds of fun and/or nefarious things with. Although I do have to say, I feel like they're a little bit behind the times. I feel like all the kids are drinking that, hard seltzer or something these days, but whatever. They're old school, I get it. Next up, our raid, the Nerubar Palace. So this is an 8-boss raid that will take place in the zone of Aj-Kahet. And this is really the culmination of all of those machinations we keep hearing about that we see play out between the Nerubian Empire, their queen, and her collaboration
I haven't raided in
with
so long.
Zavatath. So for this next one, we don't normally show things this early, but I thought it'd be cool to share.
Oh no. F? Oh no. Did it die? Don't tell me it died. Refresh the page.
So to step us through the raid really quickly.
Also, this is still the raid.
Barging through the front door, you'll very quickly fall and/or get knocked into one of those giant pits of that black blood of the old god that you'll hear much more about in Aj-Kahet. And then you'll battle your way through the harvest pits, and then finally traverse your way back up through the stalactite wing, which is not a final name, I promise, until you finally fight your way into the Queen's inner sanctum, where you'll come face to face with her as the end boss. So as you can see, this will kind of feel like a winged raid in terms of the vibes, but in terms of the player experience, it'll actually be quite a bit more linear than what you might be used to for a raid with some winged vibes. So something that I also think is fun to talk about really quick is with all of our dungeons and raids, we like to try to explore what is the thing that's going to make this space feel really unique, that's going to make it stand out from all the other times that we've built these dungeons and raids. And with this space, we really thought that,
I unironically think that this is one of the greatest challenges they're facing right now. Just making something visually distinct. They've done so many different things that it's not even a matter of creativity anymore. It's a matter of you've literally run out of vibes, you know?
What the team comes up with for that. Next up, let's talk about systems.
Okay, this is what I want to see. Tell me about the systems. Tell me something is permanent. Please don't tell me it's just
I want to walk you through some of our features and systems at a really high level, but first I want to talk about some of the philosophies that are really guiding us to add these into the War Within. So first and foremost, we really want to continue to extend the philosophies of Dragonflight into the War Within. And really, when we talk about that, there's 3 main pillars that I want to touch on. First, we really want to make sure that we're focusing on evergreen features. We want to make sure that we're making World of Warcraft better forever, and not focusing on things that we know we're going to have to leave behind as we move into future expansions.
Yes.
Next, we want to make sure that there's something for everyone. So whether you're a hardcore raider, a PvPer, a collector, or apparently like Holly, you just love to play tons of alts and run around the world exploring things, we want to make sure that there's something in War Within that you can really geek out over and that resonates with you. And finally, we want to make sure that we're continuing to build on our philosophy and build on our systems and content with people who play multiple characters in mind. We want to make sure...
I think this has always been a complicated issue.
We want to make sure that we're building all of our systems to really respect the time of the player behind the keyboard and not focusing so much
I think respecting a player's time and building the game, assuming that people will play multiple characters, are two very different things.
So let's talk about delves. Delves are a new feature that will be integrated into the outdoor world experience, where the fantasy
Okay, I want to see what this is about.
that you'll be joining the Dragon Scale expedition in their search for lost treasures all across Kazalgar. So delves are an evergreen feature that is really integrated into that outdoor world experience. We want delves to be a new pillar of endgame content for those outdoor world explorers.
So this is basically,
we really view this as something like when we added World Quests back in Legion, where they are going to be really integrated and transformative.
Like a 1 to 5 people
world,
dungeon.
Especially that endgame loop.
This is kind of genius.
So one of the main reasons I'm stoked about delves is that these will provide an opportunity for us to, give seasonal content and rewards to those outdoor world explorers.
If this is Mage Tower difficulty, I'll eat this up.
Rewards that you're used to, like mounts, achievements, titles, but we'll also be adding a outdoor row to the Great Vault with War Within.
Big W. If this is actually difficult and challenging, I will eat this up.
So that all of you outdoor world explorers will be able to share in the joy of, rushing to the Great Vault every week to collect your loot.
Please make it hard.
And there will also be 13 unique delves that we'll be launching War Within with.
1 to 5, yeah.
Delves will scale from 1 to 5 players and be role agnostic.
If these are not like,
if you want to play a delve solo, that's totally cool.
Like on the difficulty and complexity of those the digs you do in like what's the zone? The underground zone in Dragonflight, right? If it's that, then I'll sleep. If it's actually difficult and complex, I'll eat this up. A solo challenge? Sign me up.
One of my favorite features of delves, which I think Maria alluded to earlier, which is that there will be an NPC companion joining you on all of your adventures. So for Season 1, that'll be Bran Bronzebeard, as you can see.
Bring back Meatball.
And Bran will be tagging along with you on all of your delve adventures and will totally never, not even once, aggro a pack of monsters that you didn't want him to. And I don't have my fingers crossed behind my back right now. So Bran will have a custom... Bran will have a customizable
Someone yelled something, I don't know what it was.
And mechanics and abilities that you'll be able to kind of load out to suit your playstyle and needs.
Is this going to be like a horrific visions thing, or is this going to be a Mage Tower thing? Because if it's horrific visions, then you'll be able to just out-level this.
You wouldn't be exploring it with the Dragon Scale Expedition if at the end of every delve there wasn't this massive treasure trove that we need Bran to open for us, which hopefully brought a couple of keys to open some of the chests in there. But before Bran can open that that vault for you, you'll need to maybe defeat a boss, maybe you'll solve a couple puzzles, something like that, and then Bran will be able to open that vault door for you.
Give me difficult fights. Solo challenges, more Mage Towers.
Next up, let's talk about warbands. It's happening!
So warbands, as far as I understand, is just like account-wide everything.
So warbands are a system that we're introducing that will really be the representation of all of your characters across your
Could be a stepping stone to player housing.
Warbands are an opportunity for us to create a platform where you can share your achievements, resources, and all that other good stuff across all of those characters. So the goal of this system is really to be that representation of the philosophy shift that I mentioned earlier about really respecting the time of the player behind the keyboard.
This is what I mean, right? Because this is basically eliminating the need for alts in many ways. That's what I mean, like designing the game for multiple characters and designing the game to respect the player's time are two very different things.
all these modifications and updates and features are like kind of wearing a big coat that says warbands on the back of it. It's how I kind of keep it straight in my head. But just to talk about a couple of those cool features, we'll actually be revisiting the transmog rules of how you acquire those appearances in The War Within. So for all of you who have So that means all of you who have probably had to run 4 characters through all of those legacy instances just to make sure you're collecting all the appearances, that won't be the case anymore in War Within.
Yep.
You'll just be able to run it with 1 character.
And I think you can also transmog anything onto any class now, is what I saw on Twitter.
Holly mentioned this already, but this is obviously one that people are looking forward to. All of our reputations as well as renown in The War Within will be shared across your entire account.
Big W. Big W.
Last but not least, let's talk about hero talents. So here's a quick mock-up of what the UI will look like that I think really helps explain how these integrate into our current talent trees. But really quick, let's take a look at how this will work. So there will be 3 new hero talent trees per class, and 2 will be available per specialization that you can freely choose and swap between. And also, this is another evergreen feature. This is a system that we think is going to provide a new vector of choice and customization for you and all of your classes, as well as create opportunities for us to really dig into some of those core class fantasies that are, so amazing. So Hero Talents will introduce these new, small, self-contained talent trees like you just saw in the UI. And the way I like to think about it is like, currently we have 2 types of talent points, right? We have class talent points and specialization talent points. And now in The War Within, there'll be a 3rd type called hero talent points. So let's look at a quick example, which hopefully explains it a little bit more. This is a warrior, as you can see.
Yes, okay.
These are the 3 hero talent trees that they'll have available: Mountain Thane, Colossus, and Slayer. And as you can see in the top left, we have Protection, who will be able to choose between Mountain Thane and Colossus. Up on the right, you see Fury. Yep, that's right. Mountain Thane and Slayer are their options. And down at the bottom, Colossus and Slayer are their options. So this is how the majority of our classes are going to look in The War Within. The exception,
So if I want to become the ultimate DPS god, I become Slayer.
Are a bit special, so theirs will look a little different. So let's take a look at how you'll unlock the system, as well as how it'll feel playing through.
Yeah, what does it do?
As you're leveling through The War Within. So the system will automatically unlock at level 71, and it'll just kind of appear in your UI.
So we're going to level 80, okay.
You'll earn 1 talent point per level as you level from 71 to 80. And there are 10 talent points in total, with several choice nodes along the way. So I like to think of this as being similar to like the Legion artifact, where as you were leveling and progressing, you were making some choices along the way, but ultimately you're going to unlock the whole tree. And also, I want to be very clear here. These are extremely low friction to swap between those choice nodes, as well as to swap between the different hero talent trees.
Big W.
So, this should be
I'm
very
gonna be a
analogous
Slayer.
to your current talent trees, and will follow all the same rules that you used to there. So
Maybe I'll be able to wield
start of a
3
raid
swords.
boss, before Mythic Plus starts.
If I was
before,
arms and then
the raid
Furies,
master
3
kicks
swords,
off,
right?
And anywhere in between. And to wrap us up, I wanted to show off a really quick video of what hero talents look like in action.
Please show me a warrior.
So this is a warrior,
Yes!
as you can see, pop an avatar, jumping in. And this next one is that same warrior with the Mountain Thane talent tree. As you can see, Stormbolt hits multiple targets. There's a couple of cool new V effects, and a lot of other cool stuff going on there.
So
as
this
well.
is basically class
Our
skins.
effects artists will be happy.
I love that.
So that about wraps
That's
us
cool.
up for our What's Next panel.
That's cool. I want to see how many there are.
We hope you really liked what you saw here, and if you'd like to know more, please join us tomorrow at the Deep Dive panel at noon, where Ian will walk you through some of what you saw today in more detail. Woo, Ian! As well as a bunch of other cool new stuff in The War Within. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great BlizzCon. Bye.
What time is the deep dive panel tomorrow? What I'm worried about is that they're just going to do Dragonflight again. That's like my biggest fear right now. I think they're doing some really, really interesting things. Like the warbands are a universal W. Like the warbands are just what should have always been there. It's perfect. I love it. The class skins, which they're basically class skins, I think that is really, really cool. The new zones, as usual, look really, really good. The cinematic is really, really cool. I want to see what they do with the delves. Because the delves, I think, have the potential to be on the level of Mythic Plus in terms of coming into Legion and changing the entire game. If they genuinely introduce challenging solo encounters that are a part of the actual seasonal structure, as much as I hate the seasonal structure, I think we might see the game see a bit of a shakeup, especially because it's not just solo encounters, but it's 1 to 5, which opens up an entirely different dimension of people potentially running dungeons and these at the same time. I think there are basically, I have a lot of thoughts. I think there is a potential of dividing up players too much between all these different things, and raiding will just become even more of a headache. That's why I don't raid. I don't have time to commit to a schedule. I'm not going to show up every week to a set time, basically. I just don't have the time to do that. What I do have time is to log on during my breakfast and play a delve, you know? And what I also have time for is randomly jumping onto a Mythic Plus. So I think there is a worry there that raiding will become even more devalued, like on the scale of WoW stuff. I don't know if that's good for the game. It's still an MMO, you know, big encounters are cool. There's also the question of, like, difficulty with raids, right? A lot of people think raiding is just too complex, that the game itself is just a bit too complex right now. Same goes for Mythic Plus, you know, there's 15 mechanics for every trash mob, 20 mechanics for every boss, and times 8 dungeons, you know? There's also that. I'm just trying to fit this whole thing in my brain. The reason why a lot of people don't raid anymore is because Mythic Plus is faster to gear up. Playing Mythic Plus is just a more efficient way to play the game. Like, fundamentally. There are things you can only get in raiding, but like most of it you can get in Mythic Plus. So, like, purely numbers-wise, you're going to play a lot more Mythic Plus. What if delves give really, really good rewards? And they're even more efficient because you could play them by yourself, and you don't need to rely on other people who could potentially make a mistake and mess up the whole thing. This is like playing with these levers in an MMO that I don't know if it's good for the game. I don't know if it's bad for the game. We'll see. We'll find out. I'm interested. A very, very curious BlizzCon, I'll say that. Announcing 3 expansions, and then this? We'll see. And it seems to be relatively early. If it's still coming only fall 2024, that's a long ways off. That's a whole year. So they're still cooking. My biggest worry is, like I said, that it's just going to be as formulaic as Dragonflight. They didn't talk about bringing back, like, the zone events. I think they will bring them back to some extent. I just hope that they don't bring all of them back. You know, I don't want to open the expansion with 4 of them. I think it could be cool if there are, like, 2. Maybe 1? 1 or 2? I think it'd be cool. You know, like in the mines, for example, you need to protect, like, the miners. You need to escort the minecart. Maybe you need to go into the mines yourself, something like that. I think that'd be cool. I don't want them to throw it away completely. I don't. That's my biggest fear as well. I don't want them to just throw the events away completely, like the outdoor events, right? Like the soup event, for example. I think the soup event is fun. I also don't want them to go overboard with it. I'm just curious to see the lessons they've learned from Dragonflight, basically. Because Dragonflight has been extremely formulaic. And it's not that it's bad. It's that it's the same thing over and over, and it just gets, like... It's hard to get excited about. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to play every World of Warcraft expansion. Of course, I'm going to play all of them. So, I'll be there, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm really curious what's going to happen with the Classic thing. That's what I'm curious about.